Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to build a really exciting project from scratch, a fully functional calendar app using React. Whether you're a beginner looking to learn more about React or an experienced developer wanting to sharpen your skills, this tutorial has something for everyone. So let's dive right in. In this tutorial we'll be creating a calendar app that allows you to view and navigate through different months and years, select specific dates, and even add, edit, and delete events. Here is a detailed breakdown of what we will be building. We will start by setting up a navigation system that allows you to move through months and years easily. You'll be able to see the current month and year displayed at the top and use arrow buttons to navigate. We will create a grid that displays all the days of the week at the top and the dates of the current month below. The dates will be dynamically generated based on the current month and year. You will be able to click on any date to select it, and you can add an event to that date. When you select a date, an event pop-up will appear. This pop-up allows you to enter details for a new event, such as the event time and description. The pop-up is designed to be user-friendly, with input fields for hours and minutes, and a text area for the event description. You can also edit existing events using this pop-up, which we will implement with state management in React. We will implement functionality to add events by selecting a date and entering event details. And as I said, we can also edit existing events or delete them if needed. Events will be displayed on the corresponding dates in the calendar. Finally, we will ensure that our calendar app is responsive, so it looks great on both desktop and mobile devices. If I inspect the page, switch to the responsive mode, and check the project on different screen sizes and devices, we have here desktop screens, tablets, and also mobile screen sizes. You will see that it is fully responsive and looks pretty nice. Throughout this tutorial, I will explain each step in detail so you can understand the logic and concepts behind building this app. If you find this tutorial helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more coding tutorials and tech content. Hit the bell icon so you never miss our upcoming projects and tutorials. And if you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Now let's get started. I created a new folder called Calendar App, which right now is empty. Let's go ahead and open it in VS Code. So the first thing that we have to do is to create a React application. Before we do that, I want to make sure that you already have Node.js installed on your computer. Node.js is a runtime environment and allows us to create a server-side application using JavaScript. In our case, we need Node.js because we are going to use npm Node Package Manager. So in order to install Node.js, you have to search for Node.js, download it, and install. It is a very simple process, so I'm not going to go through it. Okay, I hope you installed Node.js successfully. So as I said, we have to create our React application. For that, I'm going to use one of the build tools called Vite. It is a build tool that lets you configure a development environment for different frameworks such as React, Vue, Svelte, and so on. Let's go ahead and search for Vite. Go to the website. So here you can learn about Vite. What we need here is the commands to create the React application. So here by default we have a command to create a Vue application, but the command for React app is the same. So let's go back to the VS Code and open terminal. In order to open terminal, you can either click Ctrl plus backtick, or you can go to View and then choose terminal. Alright, so I'm going to run the following command: npm create vite @latest. Then we need the name of our application. It's going to be calendar app. Then we need dashes, again 2 dashes followed by template, and finally React. Okay, so our React application is created. We have here a new folder called calendar app. It includes a bunch of files and folders. We will go through them in a minute. The next thing that we need is to create node modules. For that, we have to navigate to the newly created folder, and then we have to run npm install. It will take some time. So as you can see, a new folder is generated in our React application called Node Modules, which includes a bunch of other folders. Right now we're not interested in going over them. The last thing that we have to do is to run our application in the browser. For that we need npm run dev. So as you can see, a local URL is generated. We can copy it and paste it in the browser tab, or we can press Alt and then click the link. So as you can see, the application is up and running in the browser. Okay, let's go ahead and place the browser and the editor side by side, like so. It will allow us to navigate to each other in a simple way. Now I'm going to describe what do we have here. So as you can see, there are some default files and folders. In the public folder, we have an icon, which we don't need right now. So let's go ahead and remove it. And then in the source folder, we have an assets folder. We don't need it either. So I'm going to get rid of it. We have 5 different files here with JSX, CSS, and HTML extensions. I'm going to get rid of app.css file because we're going to create our CSS file. Then we have here index.css, which includes some global CSS styles. Let's go ahead and delete all of them. I'm going to keep this file. As for the index.html file, it includes the root elements in which our application is rendered. I'm going to get rid of this icon from the head element and also change the title. I'm going to insert here calendar app. Okay, besides that, we have 2 files, app.jsx and main.jsx. The main.jsx file allows us to render the application. You can see here the root elements, which I've just shown to you in the index.html file. We are not going to touch this file. As for the app.jsx file, it includes our app component. I'm going to empty this file because we'll create the app component from scratch. So in order to create a React component, I'm going to use a shortcut, RAFCE. This shortcut comes from one of the VS Code packages called ES7 snippets. So I recommend to install this package in order to use such shortcuts. So again, to create a React component, we need RAFCE. If I hit enter, then the app component will be generated. Let's get rid of this import statement from here. So as you can see, the content of the development is displayed on the page. Okay, now I'm going to create a new folder in the src folder. Let's call it components. And inside that folder, I'm going to create 2 files. The first one is going to be calendar app.jsx. As for the second file, it's going to be calendar app.css. So in the calendar app.jsx file, we will write all the React code for our application. As for the CSS file, all the styles will go there. Okay, let's go ahead and open calendar app.jsx file. Now I'm going to create new component here, and again let's use shortcut RAFCE. So here we have a new component, calendar app. Let's get rid of import statement. Let's save this file. Then I'm going to open app.jsx file, and I'm going to nest here the component that we have created here, calendar app. So instead of this text, I'm going to insert here calendar app. Then we have to import this component here. So we need import statement, and we have to import calendar app from components, calendar app. And besides that, I'm going to import CSS file that we created, calendar app.css. So we need to specify here the path of the file. We need components folder and then file calendar app.css. Now once I save and then go to the browser, we'll get here the content of the calendar app component. Alright, so that's it. The project setup is over. Now I'm going to create JSX. I mean the HTML content of the application. Actually, it's not an HTML, it is like a mix of JavaScript and HTML. It lets you write HTML-like code within your JavaScript files, making it easier to create and manipulate user interfaces. Instead of separating the markup and logic, JSX allows you to combine them, which helps in building and maintaining React components efficiently. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to go back to the app.jsx file, and I'm going to add class name to the div element. Actually, in React, we use class names and not classes. If you use class, then you will get an error. So the class name is going to be container. Then I'm going to close this file. And here in calendar app.jsx file, I'm going to create the content. So I'm going to add class name to the div element, and it's going to be calendar app. So inside the div element, I'm going to create another div, and it's going to be calendar. Inside the calendar, I'm going to open h1 heading element, and the class name is going to be heading. As for the text of the heading, it's going to be calendar. So here we have h1 heading element. Next, I'm going to add here other elements as well. So after h1 heading element, I'm going to open div with the class navigate date. It will include 3 different elements. The first one is going to be h2 heading element with the class name month. And I'm going to insert here May. Right now, I will add some hard-coded data, and then we will change it with dynamic data using React. So after h2 heading element, I'm going to open another h2 heading element with the class name year. And I'm going to insert here 2024. And finally, we need here another div element with the class name buttons. Those buttons will be used to navigate to previous and next months. So now I'm going to pass here 2 buttons, and I'm going to use box icons for those buttons. In order to link box icons to our project, I'm going to go to the browser and search for box icons. Then we need to click usage, import the CSS, and I'm going to grab this CDN link. Let's go back to the VS Code and open index.html file. So in the head elements, I'm going to insert the copied CDN link. Now the box icons library is linked to our project. Now I'm going to insert here I elements with the class names bx, bx chevron, left. Then I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and instead of left, let's use right. Now if I go to the browser, you will find here 2 icons. Alright, after that I'm going to create weekdays. Let's open here div element with the class name weekdays. And I'm going to insert here span elements. So we need 7 span elements because we have 7 weekdays. Let's insert here Sunday, then we'll have Monday, next we have Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, next we have Friday, and finally Saturday. So again, I'm inserting here the hard-coded data, and then we will change this hard-coded data with the dynamic one using React. After weekdays, I'm going to open another div element, and it's going to be days. Now I'm going to insert here span elements with month days number. So I'm going to insert here 1, and then let's duplicate this element 30 times. And now I'm going to quickly change the values. Alright, so that's it about the days. So here we have the weekdays and the days of the month. Next, I'm going to insert here another div element, and it's going to be events. So the event section will include event pop-up and the event itself. So first of all, I'm going to insert here event pop-up. Actually, we need here dash. Inside the event pop-up, I'm going to insert another div element, and it's going to be time input. Then inside the time input, I'm going to open another div, and it's going to be event pop-up time. And I'm going to insert here text time. After these elements, then we need to create input. The type is going to be number. Then we need here name attribute, and it's going to be hours. I'm going to specify here the range of the hours. We need minimum value, it's going to be 0. As for the maximum value, I'm going to insert here 24. And finally, we need class name. It's going to be hours. Let's duplicate this line of code. We need the same thing for the minutes. So we need here minutes. And then minimum value is going to be 0. As for the maximum value, we need here 60. And then let's change the class name. It's going to be minutes. Okay, so that's it about the input elements. So here we have 2 input elements with type number. After that, I'm going to create text area, which will allow us to enter the text for the event. So we need here text area, and I'm going to add here placeholder attribute. Let's insert here some text. It's going to be enter event text. And now I'm going to specify here the maximum number of characters. The maximum number of characters is going to be 60. Okay, that's it about the text area. Next, I'm going to insert here button with the class name event popup btn. This button will be used to submit the information of the event popup. So I'm going to insert here text add event. Then we need to create another button, and it's going to be closing button. So I'm going to add here class name, which is going to be close event popup. And then I'm going to insert here I element. It's going to be bx, then again bx, x. Alright, so that's it about the event pop-up. All the elements are created, and now I'm going to create the event itself. So after event pop-up, I'm going to add here div element, and it's going to be event. Inside the event, I'm going to open another div, and it's going to be event date wrapper. It will include the event date and event time. So let's open div element with the class name event date. I'm going to insert here some hard-coded date. Let's say May 15, 2024. Let's duplicate this code. So I'm going to add here event time, and the time is going to be, let's say, 10 o'clock. Okay, so that's it about the event date wrapper. It includes 2 elements, event date and event time. After those elements, I'm going to open div element, and it's going to be event text. So I'm going to insert here some event text. Let's say meeting with John. Then after that, I'm going to open another div element. It's going to be event buttons. Actually, let's add here dash. So we will have 2 buttons for editing the event and also for deleting the event. So let's insert here I elements. The first one is going to be bx, bxs, edit, alt. Let's duplicate this code. And the second one is going to be bx, bxs, message, alt, x. Okay, so I think that's it about the JSX. Everything is created. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, all the elements are displayed. Now it's time to style those elements. Actually, the styling part is optional. If you don't want to write CSS, then you can skip this part. It's up to you. But I recommend to at least watch this part because I'm going to use some cool tricks and techniques in CSS. so I think that it will be useful for you anyway. First of all, I'm going to create some global and default styles, and for that I'm going to go ahead and open index.css file. So throughout this project we're going to use some Google fonts. Therefore I'm going to go ahead and search for Google fonts. Let's visit the website. I'm going to use two different Google fonts. The first one is going to be Pepas Neue. As for the second font, it's going to be Comforta. Let's click Get Font, then we need Get Embed Code, and I'm going to go to Import section. We need to grab this URL. Let's paste it here in index.css file. Okay, after that I'm going to select every element using an asterisk, and I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding. Let's set both properties to 0. Next I'm going to set box sizing to border box. In this case, the width and height of the element will take up padding and also the border. Next I'm going to set outline to none, and also I'm going to set font family. The default font family is going to be Comforta sans serif. Okay, so as you can see, the default styles are applied to the elements. So throughout this project I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default, 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels because the font size of the root element, I mean the HTML element, is equal to 16 pixels. I want to convert 1 rem into 10 pixels, and for that we have to decrease the font size of the HTML element. We need to set it to 62.5%. In this case, 1 rem will be equal to 10 pixels. So if we check the browser, you will see that all the elements became smaller. Alright, so the last thing here is to customize the container. So let's go ahead and select this element. First of all, I'm going to define the width and height. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height, I'm going to set it to 100 viewport height. It means that the container will take up 100% of the height of the viewport. Next, we need to change the background color. It's going to be 2C3542. So as you can see, the background of the container is changed. Next, I'm going to place the content in the center of the page. For that, we can use a couple of different ways. In this case, I'm going to use CSS grid. We need display grid, and then I'm going to use place items with the value center. So as you can see, the content is placed in the center. After that, I'm going to add here one more property, and it is called perspective. This property allows us to create 3D environments, and I'm going to set it to 100 rem. So we need 3D environment to create this shadow effect. We have here 3D effect, and that's why I use perspective with the value 100 rem. Okay, so that's it about the global and default styles. I'm going to close index.css file, and then I'm going to go to calendar app.css file. So I'm going to select calendar app, and I'm going to define width. It's going to be 60%. Then for responsiveness, I'm going to use minimum width, and I'm going to set it to 90 viewport minimum. So this unit represents viewport minimum. It is a relative unit in CSS that expresses a value as a percentage of the smaller dimension of the viewport. Imagine a rectangular viewport representing your browser window. The viewport has two dimensions, width and height. Whichever of these dimensions is smaller is considered the viewport's minimum dimension. If your browser window is wider than it is tall, I'm in the landscape mode, the minimum dimension will be the viewport height. Conversely, if your window is taller than it is wide, I mean if you have portrait mode, the minimum dimension will be the viewport width. The 90 viewport minimum value in our code instructs the element to take up 90% of this minimum viewport dimension. Alright, after that I'm going to use aspect ratio, and I'm going to set it to 3:2. So in CSS, the aspect ratio property is used to define the aspect ratio of an element. In our example, we are specifying the aspect ratio as 3:2. Here is what it means. The first value, 3, represents the width of the element. The second value, 2, represents the height of the element. So in our case, the element's width would be 3 times its height, resulting in a wider shape. So I'm going to change the background color and then everything will be clear. So let's set background color to 1E, 2.4, 2D. Let's check the browser. So here we have the calendar up and its width and height. Next, I'm going to create some space inside the app using padding. Let's set it to 3 rem on all 4 sides. Also, I'm going to make the element rounded using border radius. It's going to be 3 rem. Then I'm going to add border to the application. Let's set it to 1 rem, solid. And the color is going to be 0F1319. Okay, so after that, I'm going to align elements using Flexbox. We need display flex. It will allow us to place the calendar and events side by side horizontally. And now I'm going to create some space between those 2 flex items using column gap. And the value is going to be 5 rem. So here we have the space. Okay, so that's it about the calendar app. Now I'm going to create the shadow. I mean this nice and cool effect. For that I'm going to use after pseudo element. So let's go ahead and select calendar app, followed by the after pseudo element. First of all, I'm going to set content to empty. Next, I'm going to set position to absolute. And I'm going to position after pseudo element according to its parent element, calendar app. Therefore, we need here position relative. Then I'm going to set bottom position to minus 12 rem. As for the left position, it's going to be 50%. I'm going to center the element. Therefore, we need here transform, translate function. And it's going to be minus 50%. Then let's set width and height of the elements. The width is going to be 90%. As for the height, I'm going to set it to 16 rem. And finally, in order to make the element visible, let's set background color to an RGBA value. We need here black color, 3 zeros, and the opacity 0.5. Let's check the browser. So we have here the after pseudo element. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to make it rounded using border radius. Let's set it to 20 rem. Next, I'm going to add to the elements blur effect using filter. We need here blur function and the value is going to be 4 rem. So now the element is blurred. As you remember, we used CSS property perspective in index.css file in order to create 3D environment. Now, in order to share 3D environment to the shadow, I'm going to use one of the properties called transform style. Actually, we need here transform style, and I'm going to set it to preserve 3D. Now nothing is changed here, but if I rotate slightly the element, let's use rotate X function with the value 50 degrees, then we will get nice and cool shadow effect in 3D space. Okay, so that's it about the shadow. Next, I'm going to customize the calendar. I'm in the left side of the application. So let's go ahead and select calendar. Let's set width to 40%. It will take up 40% of the application. Next, I'm going to customize the heading. Let's define font family. In this case, I'm going to set font to Bebas New E, the second font that we grabbed from the Google Fonts website. It's going to be sans serif. Then we need font size. And here I'm going to use one of the functions called clamp. Let's insert here the values and then I will explain how this function works. So the first value is going to be 4 rem. Then we have 3.8 CQI. And the third value is going to be 7 rem. So the clamp function allows us to set a value that falls within a specified range. It takes 3 parameters separated by commas. The first parameter, 4 rem, specifies the minimum font size. If the viewport or parent element size is small, the font size will not shrink below this value. The second parameter, 3.8 CQI, is a preferred font size. Actually, this unit is a part of container query length units. If you hadn't heard of them until now, container queries are similar to media queries. However, instead of being based upon the size of the user's viewport, these styles can be changed according to the size of one of the element's parent containers. Now, in the same way that viewport height and viewport width are relative to the size of the viewport, container query units are relative to the size of the container. So CQI stands for container query inline, and by default it equals to 1% of the container's inline size. This second value is used when the viewport or parent element size falls within the range specified by the minimum and maximum functions. However, if the preferred size is greater than the maximum size specified by the third parameter, then the font size will be limited to the maximum size. The third parameter, 7rem, specifies the maximum font size, and if the viewport or parent element size is large, the font size will not grow beyond this value. So in summary, this function allows us to make the font size of the element responsive for different screen sizes and devices. In order to avoid to change the font size, then in the CSS media queries, you can use clamp function with 3 different parameters and make the font responsive for different screen sizes and devices. Alright, so actually the font family is not changed. We might have a mistake. We need here Papas new E. So now the font is changed. Okay, let's go ahead and add some more styles to the heading. We need color, it's going to be white. Then I'm going to create some space between the letters. Let's set it to 0.3 rem. Okay, so the heading calendar looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the navigate date elements, which includes the month, year, and those buttons here. So let's go ahead and select these elements. First of all, I'm going to use Flexbox to align the elements inside the navigate date element. So we need display flex. Then I'm going to place items in the center vertically. For that we need align items center. And also I'm going to create some space between the flex items using column gap. The value is going to be 1 rem. So as you can see, the flex items are placed horizontally in a row, and we have some space between them. Next, I'm going to create some space using margin. Let's set margin to 3.5 rem at the top and bottom sides, and then we need 0 on the left and right sides. After this, I'm going to customize each of the elements inside the navigate date. So let's go ahead and start with navigate date h2 heading elements. Let's define the font size. And again, I'm going to use clamp function. So the first value, the minimum value, is going to be 1.5 rem. Then we need the preferred value. It's going to be 1.5 CQI. And finally, the maximum value is going to be 2.5 rem. Next, I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to BBB. Okay, so the heading looks pretty nice. Now I'm going to take care of the buttons. So let's go ahead and select wrapper div elements with the class name buttons. Let's use Flexbox. We need display flex, and then I'm going to create some space between the buttons using column gap. It's going to be 1 rem, and after that I'm going to place the buttons on the right side. So for that we can use margin left, and we have to set it to auto. So as you can see, the buttons are placed on the right side of the wrapper. After that, I'm going to customize the eye elements. So let's go ahead and select buttons, followed by the eye elements. We need width and height, both of them to be 3.5 rem. Next, I'm going to change the background color. Let's set it to 2C 3542. Then I'm going to set border radius to 50% because the button should be rounded. Now I'm going to place the icons in the center of those circles. So for that we need to use display flex, then justify content center, which allows us to center the element horizontally, and then we need align item center for vertical centering. So the icons are placed in the center of the circles. Let's increase the size of the icons using font size. It's going to be 2 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to C97F1A. And finally, I'm going to set cursor to pointer. Okay, so the icons look pretty nice, and actually with the navigate date element we are done. Next we have to take care of the weekdays. So let's go ahead and select weekdays. It is a parent element. So the width is going to be 100%, and then we need display flex in order to align the elements. And then we need to create some space using margin. Let's set it to 3 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. After that, I'm going to select the span elements and the weekdays. So we need here weekdays followed by the span element. So first of all, I'm going to define the width of the span element, and I'm going to use here a calc function which allows us to make some calculations. I'm going to insert here 100% divided by 7. It should be the width of each span element. And then I'm going to define the font size. Let's use again clamp function. The first value, the minimum value is going to be 1 rem. Then we have here 0.8 CQY. It is a preferred value. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.3 rem. Okay, after that, I'm going to set font weight to bold. Then I'm going to make the font uppercase. Let's use text transform uppercase. I'm going to change the color. It's going to be 78879E. Also, let's create some space between the letters. We need letter spacing with the value 0.1 rem. And then I'm going to place the span elements in the center using display flex, and then we need justify content center. Okay, so as you can see, the weekdays are placed nicely. Next, I'm going to take care of the days. So let's go ahead and select days. Set display to flex, and then in order to break the lines of the numbers, I'm going to use flex wrap with the value wrap. After that, I'm going to select span elements. We need days followed by the span element. Let's set font size to again clamp function. The first value is going to be 1.2 rem. Then we have here 1 CQY as the preferred value. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.6 rem. Next, I'm going to define width, and I'm going to use the same calculation. So let's grab this value and paste here. So after width, I'm going to define the height, and let's use aspect ratio. It's going to be 1. So the width and height will be the same. Next, I'm going to use flexbox. So let's set display to flex. Then we need justify content center and align items center in order to center the span elements within the container. Let's check the result. So here we have the numbers, they are aligned nicely. Next, I'm going to change the color, and it's going to be DDD, light gray color. Also, I'm going to set cursor to pointer, and finally, I'm going to add little shadow effect to the numbers. The values will be 0.5 rem, 1 rem, and the color is going to be RGBA. The opacity will be 0.2. Okay, so everything looks pretty nice. Actually, I'm going to move the heading and the month, the second heading, slightly to the right side. So let's add to heading and also to the second H2 heading element, padding left with the value 1.3 rem. So now everything looks pretty nice. Okay, so now I'm going to customize the current dates of the month, like we have it here. So right now I'm going to add class name to the current day. Let's add here current day. Then go back to the CSS file and select current day. I'm going to change the background color. It's going to be EF9011. Also, I'm going to make the current day rounded. So we need border radius 50%. And also let's create box shadow. I'm in the shadow effect. We need here 0, 0, 1.5 rem, then 1 rem, and the color is going to be RGBA. Actually, we need here 1 rem. As for the color, we need here 239, then 14417, and the opacity 0.3. Okay, so here we have the current day, which looks pretty nice. Alright, so that's it about the first part of our application. I'm in the calendar. Next we have to take care of the events. So let's go ahead and select events. I'm going to set width to 60%. Then we need height, which is going to be 100%. And also I'm going to create some space inside the events. Let's set padding to 3 rem at the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right sides. After that, I'm going to customize the event itself. So as you remember, the events part consists of event pop-up and event. First of all, I'm going to customize the event and then we will take care of the event pop-up. So let's go ahead and select event. And actually, I'm going to hide the pop-up for a while. So let's select event pop-up and add here display none. Now I'm going to customize the event. Let's set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be 7 rem. Also change the background color. I'm going to set it to 00A3FF. Let's check the browser. So here we have the event. After that, I'm going to create some space inside the event. Let's set padding to 1.5 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. Then we need to make the event rounded using border radius. The value is going to be 1 rem. Let's check the results. Okay, now I'm going to align the contents of the event using flexbox. Let's set display to flex. Then we need align items center. It will allow us to center the elements vertically. So here we go. After that, I'm going to create some space at the bottom of the event, because if we have several events, then we need some space between them. So we need here margin bottom with value 2 rem. Next, I'm going to take care of the event date wrapper. So let's go ahead and select this element. We need event date wrapper. First of all, I'm going to align the contents, the elements inside the event date wrapper using flexbox. So we need display flex. Then we have to change the direction of the flex because we have to align elements vertically in a column. So we need flex direction to be column. And then we have to align items in the center. We have to center the elements horizontally. In general, align item center allows us to center the elements vertically, but once we change the direction and we have here flex direction column, then align item center allows us to center the elements horizontally. Okay, next I'm going to define the width. Let's set it to 25%. And finally, I'm going to create border on the right side. And the values will be 0.1 rem, solid, and the color is going to be RGBA. We need here white color, 255 3 times, and the opacity is going to be 0.5. Okay, so as you can see, the event date wrapper looks nice, and now we have to customize the elements of the event date wrapper. The event date and the event time. So let's go ahead and select event date. First of all, I'm going to define the font size. And I'm going to use again clamp function. The first value, the minimum value is going to be 1 rem. Then the preferred value is going to be 1 CQI. As for the maximum value, I'm going to set it to 1.2 RAM, and then change the color. It's going to be DTT. Okay, so that's it about the event date. Now we have to customize the event time. So let's go ahead and select event time. Let's set font size to clamp function, and the values will be 1.3 RAM. Then I'm going to set the preferred value to 1 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.6 RAM. Then I'm going to increase the line height. Let's set it to 4 RAM. Also, let's make the font bold. And finally, we need color to be white. Okay, so as you can see, the date and the time looks pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the event text, which is placed on the right side of the event. So I'm going to select event text. First of all, let's define font size. I'm going to use again clamp function. The first value, the minimum value is going to be 1.2 RAM. Then the preferred value is going to be 1 CQI. As for the maximum value, I'm going to set it to 1.4 RAM. Next, I'm going to set line height to 2 RAM. And then I'm going to change the color. It's going to be white. So the text is customized. I'm going to take care of the space inside the event text, but before that I'm going to define the width. Let's set it to 75%. As for the space inside the event text, let's use padding with the values 0 at the top side, then 3 RAM on the right side, 0 at the bottom side, and 1 RAM on the left side. Okay, so everything looks good. Next, I'm going to add to the event text one more property. It's going to be overflow wrap, and the value is going to be break word. So if we have big text, then it will be placed on different lines. Alright, so that's it about the event text. Next, I'm going to take care of the event buttons. Those two buttons for editing and deleting the events. Let's go ahead and select event buttons. Actually, we need here dash. First of all, I'm going to set position to absolute. Then we need position relative for the event. So we need here position relative, because we have to position the element according to its parent element, which is the event. So next I'm going to set top position to 50%. I'm going to center the element vertically, so we need here transform, translate X with the value minus 50%. As for the right position, it's going to be 1 RAM. Then we need flexbox. Let's set display to flex. The button should be placed vertically in a column, therefore we have to change the direction. It's going to be column. And finally, to create some space between the buttons, let's use row gap, and it's going to be 1 RAM. Actually, the buttons are not placed in the center vertically. We might have an issue. Actually, instead of x-axis, we need here y-axis, because we need vertical centering. So now the problem should be fixed. Alright, that's it about the wrapper event buttons. Now I'm going to customize the buttons. So let's go ahead and select event buttons, followed by the I element. Let's set the font size to 1.6 RAM. Then the color is going to be white. And also I'm going to set cursor to pointer. Alright, so that's it about the events. Everything looks pretty nice, and now I'm going to take care of the event pop-up, which right now is hidden. So I'm going to find event pop-up, which has display none. Let's get rid of this property. First of all, I'm going to set position to absolute. Then the top position is going to be 38%. Then I'm going to set left position to 3 RAM. Let's check the browser. So we have here the event pop-up. Let's go ahead and add to it background color. The color is going to be 161B22. Also, I'm going to define width and height. The width is going to be clamp function, and we have to insert here the minimum value 25 RAM. Then the preferred value is going to be 21 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 40 RAM. As for the height, I'm going to use here aspect ratio, and it's going to be 10:9. Okay, so here we have the event pop-up with a background color. Next, I'm going to make it rounded using border radius. It's going to be 1 RAM. Then I'm going to add a little shadow effect using box shadow. The values will be 0, 1 RAM, 3 RAM, and the color is going to be RGBA, black color with the opacity 0.3. So we have here shadow effect. After that, I'm going to align the content using Flexbox. So let's go ahead and add here display flex. Then we need flex direction column because we have to align elements vertically. Next, I'm going to center the content using justify content center and align items. Actually, we need here align items center. And finally, I'm going to create some space between the flex items using row gap, and the value is going to be 2 RAM. Okay, so I think that's it about the wrapper event pop-up. Next, I'm going to take care of the time input. I mean the first part of the event pop-up. So let's go ahead and select time input. We need to use display flex, and then I'm going to create some space between the columns using column gap 1 RAM. So all 3 elements are placed horizontally in a row, and also we have some space between those elements. Next, I'm going to take care of the element called event pop-up time. I mean the first member of this part, I mean this one, time. So let's go ahead and set width to clamp function. The values will be 4 RAM. Then we have 4 CQI, that's the preferred value. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 7 RAM. Next, I'm going to change the background color. Let's use here this blue color. Also, we need to set color to white. Let's check the browser. So the first element is looking better, but we have to add some more styles to it. Now the next thing that I have to do is to change the font family. The font family is going to be Bebas or Bebas, I don't know how to pronounce it, New E, sans serif. Then I'm going to set font size to again a clamp function, and the values will be 1.5 RAM. Then we have 1.5 CQI and 2.2 RAM as the maximum value. Okay, after that I'm going to place the content in the center. For that, let's use again display flex, and we need justify content center. Also, I'm going to add to the element some shadow effect using box shadow. The values will be 0, 0, 1.5 RAM, 1 RAM, and the color will be RGBA. I'm going to add here color 0, then 163, then 255, and I'm going to add here opacity 0.2. Let's get rid of these values from here. Okay, so that's it. The first element in the input time looks pretty nice. I'm going to add one more thing to the element. Let's increase the space between the letters using letter spacing, and the value is going to be 0.1 RAM. That's it. Now I'm going to take care of the input elements. Here we have 2 input elements with the type number. Let's go ahead and select them. We need here time input followed by the input elements. So first of all, I'm going to get rid of background color. Let's set it to transparent. Next, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none. After that, I'm going to define border at the top side, and I'm going to make it 0.2 RAM solid, and the color is going to be blue color. Then I'm going to duplicate this line of code. Instead of border top, I'm going to add here border bottom, and then I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to white. Let's check the browser. So we have here 2 input fields with type number. So next I'm going to change the width of the input elements. Let's set width to a clamp function, and I'm going to add here 3 different values. The first one, the minimum value is going to be 4 RAM, then we will have here 4 CQI. As for the maximum value, I'm going to set it to 7 RAM. So the width of the input elements are changed. Next I'm going to take care of the height. Let's set height to 4 RAM. Also I'm going to, actually we need here 4 RAM. Also I'm going to align text in the center using text align center, and then change the font size. Let's use again clamp function. I'm going to insert here 1.2 RAM. Then actually we need here 1.2 RAM. Next we need 1.2 CQI, and the third value is going to be 1.6 RAM. Okay, so input fields look nice. Actually we need to place this text in the center, and for that I'm going to add to event pop-up time, justify content center, and align items center. We need to center it vertically as well. So now it looks good. Now I'm going to get rid of those arrows because I think it's kind of ugly. This is the default arrows. So in order to get rid of those arrows, we need to select at first time input, followed by the input element. Then we have to specify here in the square brackets type, and it's going to be number. Then after that I'm going to add here pseudo element, which is going to be WebKit outer spin button. Let's duplicate this selector, and now we need here WebKit inner spin button. We have to get rid of both buttons. So the property is going to be appearance, and I'm going to set it to none. So as you can see, the arrows are no longer visible, and we can scroll up and down and change the values of the input elements. Okay, so everything works perfectly. Next we have to take care of the text area. So I'm going to, actually we need to place this code down below after input. Now after input we have to select text area. We need here event pop-up, followed by text area. First of all I'm going to define width, and again I'm going to use clamp function, and the first value is going to be 15 RAM. Then we will have 15 CQI. As for the maximum value, I'm going to set it to 25 RAM. Next I'm going to define aspect ratio, and it's going to be 5:2. And also I'm going to disable the resizing function of the text area. We need to resize none. So now we no longer can resize the text area. Alright, let's go ahead and change the background color. I'm going to set it to 0F. Actually we need this color here. Then I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none. Also I'm going to create some space inside the text area using padding. Let's set it to 1 RAM. Then we need border radius to make the text area slightly rounded. Let's set it to 0.5 RAM. Also change the color, and I'm going to use here this color. Okay, let's go to the browser and check the text area. So I think it looks pretty nice. I'm going to change the border of the text area once we focus the element. So I'm going to grab this selector. Let's paste it here, add focus. And on focus, let's change the border. Make it 0.1 RAM, solid. And the color is going to be blue color, and also we need here transition for smoother effect. Let's add here border with the duration 0.5 seconds. So now once we focus, then we will get this nice and cool effect. Okay, after that I'm going to take care of the placeholder. Let's customize it slightly. So I'm going to grab this selector again. let's add here placeholder pseudo element. So I'm going to change the font size. Let's use here clamp function. I'm going to add here 1 rem as the minimum value, then 0.8 CQI as the preferred value. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.2 rem. And then change the color of the text. Let's use this color here. Okay, so I think the placeholder looks pretty nice. Now the last thing regarding text area is to manage hiding the placeholder once we focus on the input. So I'm going to grab this selector. Then I'm going to add here focus. Once we focus on the text area, we have to make the color of the text transparent. Okay, so everything works pretty nice. Next, I'm going to customize the button. So let's go ahead and select event Popup btn. Now I'm going to set width and height. The width is going to be clamp with the values 15 rem, then 15 CQI, and the maximum value 25 rem. The height is going to be 4 rem. Also, I'm going to change the background color. Let's use here color EF9011. Next, I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to white. Also, I'm going to change the font family. Let's use here BBAS New E sans serif. Next, I'm going to increase the font size of the button. So let's set font size to clamp. The values will be 1.5 rem, then 1.5 CQI, and 2.2 rem as the maximum value. Also, I'm going to increase space between the letters. Let's set it to 0.1 rem. Next, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none. Also, let's add little shadow. The values will be 0, 0, 1.5 rem, 1 rem, and the color will be RGBA. So we need here 239. Let's select this color, and the opacity is going to be 0.2. Finally, let's add here cursor pointer. Okay, so the button looks pretty nice. I'm going to add to the button clicking effect. So for that we need, let's grab this selector with active pseudo class, and I'm going to add here transform, translate Y with the value 0.1 rem. Now once we click, we'll get this nice and cool clicking effect. Okay, so the last thing regarding event pop-up and actually regarding the styling of the application is to customize this little button here. So I'm going to select close event pop-up. Let's set position to absolute. Then we need top position to be 1 rem. Left position is going to be actually not left, but we need here right position. So the right position is going to be 1 rem. Let's check the browser. So the button is positioned nicely. Next, I'm going to get rid of default background. So let's set background color to transparent. Also, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none, and I'm going to set cursor to pointer. Alright, so now I'm going to customize the eye element, which is placed inside the button. Let's go ahead and select close event pop-up followed by the eye element. We need here font size. It's going to be 2.5 rem, and the color will be white. Alright, so that's it about the event pop-up, and actually with the styling we are done. Now we have to make our application work. So we have to do a couple of things. Right now, as you know, we have here the hard-coded data. I mean, we have here just those span elements. Instead of those span elements, we have to render data dynamically, and also we have to manage navigating to previous and next month like we have it in the finished version of our project. So let's go back to the VS Code, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to hide the event pop-up. So I'm going to add here display none in order to hide the event pop-up. So it is hidden. Next, I'm going to go back to the calendar app.jsx file, and I'm going to create here a couple of different variables. So the first variable is going to be days of week, and it's going to be an array in which I'm going to insert, we need here Sunday, then Monday, then we need Tuesday, Wednesday, then the next one is Thursday, then we have Friday, and actually we need here capital F, and the last day of the week is Saturday. Alright, so that's the first variable, days of week. It is an array including 7 days. Now I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be months of year. It's going to be an array as well, and I'm going to insert here 12 months. So let's start with January. Actually, we need here January. Then the second month is going to be February. Then we have March. Then April, May, June. The next one is July. Then we have August, September. Then the next one is October. Then we have November, and finally we need here December. Okay, so we have here days of week and also the months of the year. Now I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be current date, and I'm going to make it equal to new date object. Alright, after that I'm going to create a state, and actually state in React is like a container that holds information about a component. It is data that can change over time and can influence what the component renders on the screen. You can think of it as variables that React components can keep track of and update when needed. So if you have some basic knowledge in React, then you would be already familiar with state. So I'm going to create state. I'm going to insert here current month, and then we need function set current month. It should be equal to the useState hook, and as the default value I'm going to insert here current date dot get month function. So now we have to import useState hook from React. So we need here import useState from React. Actually, useState is a hook provided by React that allows functional components to manage state. It returns an array with two elements, the current state value and a function to update that value. So here the returned array from useState is being destructured into two variables, current month and set current month. Current month represents the current state value, which is initially set to current date.getMonth. We will check the returned value in a minute in the console. Set current month is a function used to update the state value. Next, I'm going to create another state. Let's duplicate this line of code. So we need here current year instead of month. Then set current year. And useState current date dot get full year. So we need here get full year. Alright, now as I said, I'm going to run to the console those variables in order to make things clear. So we need here current month and also current year. And actually I'm going to add here current date as well, the variable that we have created here. Alright, so now let's go to the browser. I'm going to inspect the page and switch to the console tab. So as you can see, we have here three values, 4, 20, 24, and the current date. So the first value is current month, and actually it is an index number. Months in JavaScript have 0-based index numbers. So right now we have May. It is a 5th month of the year, and therefore we have here an index number 4. Now we have to calculate the total number of days in the current month. For that, we have to access the last day of the current month. The current month right now is May, and the last day of May is 31st. Therefore, it means that in May we have 31 days. So that's the logic that will be used here. Let's go back to the VS Code, and I'm going to create here new variable, and it's going to be days in month. It should be equal to a new date object, and I'm going to pass here 3 parameters. The first one is going to be current year, then the second one will be current month plus 1, and then we need 0 followed by the getDate method. Okay, so this line of code creates a new date object representing the last day of the current month. The first parameter is the year of the current month. Then we have current month plus 1, the month after the current month. As I said, months are 0 indexed in JavaScript, so adding 1 moves to the next month. Then we have 0, so setting the day to 0 actually moves the date to the last day of the previous month, which is the current month. And finally, we have here getDate method. This method returns the day of the month for the specified date, which will be the total number of days in the current month. So again, we have here current year 2024 and current month, which is 4. So current month plus 1 is 5. Therefore, we have here 2024, 5, and 0. So this part creates a date object for May 31, 2024. And getDate function retrieves the day part of this date, which is 31. And it represents the number of days in May. Okay, hopefully you understand the logic. Next, we have to calculate the day of the week for the first day of the current month. So I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be first day of month. It should be equal to new date object. And again, I'm going to pass here 3 parameters. The first one is going to be current year. Then we will have current month. And finally, I'm going to insert here 1, followed by the getDate method. So this line of code creates a new date object representing the first day of the current month. We have here current year, which is 2024. Then we have current month 4, the index number. And then we have 1, which is the first day of the month. GetDate method returns the day of the week for the specified date. For example, 0 for Sunday, 1 for Monday, and so on. So again, the current year is 2024, the current month is 4, and this part creates a date object for May 1, 2024. GetDate method retrieves the day of the week for this date. So if May 1, 2024 is a Wednesday, the method returns 3, because here Wednesday is the 4th item in the array and its index number is 3. Therefore, if we check here those 2 variables, days in month and then first day of month, we will get here 31, the number of days in May, and 3, which is the index number of Wednesday, which is the 4th member of this array. Alright, so again, if we summarize, then we will get that days in month determines the number of days in the current month by creating a date object for the last day of the current month and retrieving the day part of that date. As for the first day of month, it determines the day of the week for the first day of the current month by creating a date object for the first day of the month and then retrieving the day of the week. Alright, so since we have defined the number of days of the current month and the first day of the month, now we can render the weekdays and days in the calendar dynamically. As you know, right now we have here hard-coded span elements, so I'm going to get rid of them. Then instead of that, I'm going to open curly braces where we have to insert days of week. Then I'm going to use map function. Actually, days of week is an array which we have created here. It includes 7 weekdays. So now I'm going to add here a callback function with the parameter day. so map is an array method that creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. In this case, it iterates over each day in the days of week array, I mean this array here. And now we have to return span element with key attribute, and it's going to be day. And now I'm going to insert here day. So this is a JSX element that is returned for each day in the days of week array. Let's break it down further. So key attribute with the value day is a special attribute in React. It helps React identify which items have changed, are added, or are removed. Keys should be given to the elements inside the array to give the elements a stable identity. Here day is used as the key since each day of the week is unique within the array. As for the value of the span element, I mean this part here, it is a placeholder that inserts the value of day into the span. For example, if day is Sunday, it will render Sunday. If it is Monday, then it will render Monday, and so on. Alright, so if we save this code and go to the browser, then we will get here weekdays like we had it before, but right now these weekdays are rendered dynamically instead of using the hard-coded data. Alright, so now we have to render the days of the month dynamically. We need two things here. At first we have to render the empty span elements because, as you know, the 1st of May is Wednesday, so we need here 3 empty span elements. So in order to do that, first of all, I'm going to get rid of those span elements. We don't need them. And I'm going to open curly braces in order to write some JavaScript. Then we need array with spread operator, then method array, and in the parentheses I'm going to insert first day of month. So here array is a constructor that creates an array of a given length. First day of month is a number representing the day of the week the first day of the month falls on. It's 0 for Sunday, 1 for Monday, and in our case the 1st of May is Wednesday, so its index number is 3. So this part here creates an array with first day of month number of elements, all of which are initially undefined. As you see, we have here a spread operator. The spread operator is used to spread out the elements of the array. This creates a shallow copy of the array, so you can use it for further operations. Next, I'm going to add here method keys. This method returns a new array iterator object that contains the keys, I mean the indexes, for each index in the array. Since the array was created with first day of month number of elements, keys method provides an iterator with indexes from 0 to first day of month minus 1. In our case, it is 2. So this method provides an iterator with indexes from 0 to 2. By using the spread operator on the iterator returned by keys, you convert it back into an array of indexes. This array contains numbers from 0 to first day of month minus 1, and in our case, numbers from 0 through 2. Next, we need here map function, and I'm going to insert here a callback function with 2 parameters. We need here underscore and then index. Okay, so again, the map method creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. In this context, map is used to iterate over the array of indexes. The first parameter represents the current element, which is not used in this case, so it is named underscore to indicate that it is unused. As for the second parameter, it is index, and it's the index of the current element in the array. Alright, now we have to return span elements. I'm going to add here key attribute, and it should be equal to, let's open backtick, we need empty, dash, and I'm going to insert here index. Actually, we don't need here this closing tag, we just need slash with the bracket. Okay, so that's it about the empty span elements. Now for each index, the arrow function returns an empty span element. The key attribute is set to a unique value, empty index, to help React identify which items have changed, are added, or are removed. Now we have to dynamically generate and display the days of the current month in a calendar. I mean the days which are followed the empty span elements. So now I'm going to open again curly braces, and I'm going to insert here an array with spread operator and array constructor function. I'm going to insert here days in month. So days in month is a variable that holds the number of days in the current month. I mean this variable here. So this function with this parameter creates a new array with days in month elements. However, all these elements are undefined, like it was in case of empty span elements. So next we need keys. Keys method on the array returns a new array iterator object that contains the keys or indexes for each index in the array. For an array of length 31, which is the number of days in May, this iterator will contain the numbers from 0 through 30. The spread operator converts the array iterator returned by keys into an array of indexes. So it will result in an array which will have the items like 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way through 30. Alright, now again we need map function, which will hold a callback function with the parameter day. So you already know what map function does. Now I'm going to return span elements. Let's add here key attribute, and it's going to be day plus 1. And then I'm going to pass here day plus 1. Alright, so for each index, I mean for each day, a new span element is created. So here day plus 1 is used as the key to ensure uniqueness. Since day starts from 0, then adding 1 makes it 1 through 31, corresponding to the days of the month. Then as the content of the span element, we have here day plus 1. We have here the exact same logic. Since the days starts at 0, then adding 1 converts it to a human readable day number 1 through 31. Now let's go to the browser, and so here we go. We have here numbers from 1 through 31, and the first May is Wednesday, so everything works perfectly. Now we have to take care of those arrows. Once we click them, we have to navigate to previous and next month, and also we have to update the current month and the year. Okay, let's go back to the VS Code. I'm going to create new functions. Let's get rid of console log, we no longer need it. So I'm going to create a new function, and it's going to be prev month, I mean previous month. It should be equal to an arrow function. So now we have to update the state, I mean this state here. We have to use set current month. So let's use this function, set current month. So again, set current month is a state updater function provided by the useState hook for the current month state. So as the parameter, I'm going to insert here a function with parameter prev month. It's going to be an arrow function, and we have to return the following: prev month equal to 0. Then we need a ternary operator. Actually, it is a conditional statement. We need here 11 as the first option if the condition is true, and then if the condition is false, then we have to insert here prev month. Actually, we need here prev month minus 1. Alright, so this arrow function takes the current month, I mean prev month, as an argument. So if prev month is 0, it means that we have January, and it sets current month to 11, I mean December, because 0 is the index number of January and 11 is the index number of December. Otherwise, if this condition is false, if the current month is not January, then we have to decrement current month by 1. So now we have to do the same for the year. So I'm going to use set current year. Then again, I'm going to insert here an arrow function with the argument prev year. So we need here a conditional statement. I'm going to insert current month equal to 0. If it is true, then we need prev year minus 1. And if it is false, then we need prev year. So if current month is 0, if the current month is January, then it decrements previous year by 1, moving to the previous year. and otherwise it keeps the current year unchanged. So in summary, this function here, I mean previous month function, decrements the current month by 1, wrapping around to December if the current month is January, and adjusts the current year accordingly if the month wraps around. Now, in the same way, we have to create next month function. So I'm going to duplicate this function because it's going to be a similar function. Let's change the name. We need here next month. So in case of next month, we need set current month. Then again, as the argument, we need here prev month. As for the conditional statement, we need prev month equal to 11. So if it is true, then we need here the opposite, 0, and prev month plus 1, because we need to increment the month. So again, if previous month is 11, it means that we have December, and we have to set current month to 0, I mean January. Otherwise, we should increment previous month by 1. As for the set current year, we need here current month equal to 11. If it is true, then we need prev year plus 1. We have to increment the current year by 1. And if this condition is false, then we need just prev year. So if current month is 11, it means that we have December. We should increment previous year by 1, moving to the next year. Otherwise, we should keep the current year unchanged. Alright, so the only thing that we have to do regarding those functions is to call them once we click those icons here. So we need onClick event handler, and we need to pass here function called prev month. As for the second icon, we need here onClick event handler, and I'm going to pass here next month function. Okay, let's go to the browser, click the arrows, and here we go. So everything works perfectly. Now, as you see, we have to update the current month here and also the current year. So for that, we have to change this hard-coded data. Instead of May, I'm going to insert here months of year, which is this array here, months of year, and we have to specify the index number as current month. As for the year, instead of this hard-coded data, we just need to insert current year. Let's go to the browser. Now, if we navigate, then the months and the year will change and update accordingly. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now I'm going to display the current day. As you see, the current day has different styles. So I'm going to manage this thing here. So I'm going to add class name to this pan element, in which we have to write some JavaScript. So we have to check here multiple things. The first one is going to be day plus 1 equal to current date get date. So here we check if the day is the current day. Then we need AND operator, and we have to check the second thing. It's going to be current month equal to current dates dot get month. We are checking here if the month is the current month, and in the same way we have to check if the year is the current year. So we need here current year equal to current date dot get full year method. So if this condition is true, then we need class name to be current day, and if it is false, then we need an empty class name. Alright, so hopefully everything's correct here. Let's go to the browser. So here we go. We have here current day, which stands out with different styles like we have it in our finished version of the project. Okay, so now we have to move on and take care of the events. First of all, I'm going to manage displaying the event pop-up once we click the dates in the calendar. I want to note one thing. I'm going to display the event pop-up once we click the current or future date. If we click the past dates, then the pop-up should not appear. So we have to create new state. I'm going to insert here selected date, and then we need an updater function set selected date. It should be equal to useStateHook, and as the default value I'm going to insert here current date. Next we have to create another state, and I'm going to pass here show event popup, and then we need set show event popup. It should be equal to useState, and as the default value I'm going to pass here a boolean value false. Alright, so after that I'm going to create new function, and it's going to be handle dayClick. It should be equal to an arrow function, and as the parameter I'm going to insert here day. Now we have to create a date object for the day that was clicked. So inside the function I'm going to create new variable, and it's going to be clicked date, which should be equal to a new object, new date object, and the parameters will be current year. Then I'm going to pass here current month, and finally we need day. So current year and current month are the state variables holding the current year and month. Day is the day of the month that was clicked. So this line of code creates a date object for the specified year, month, and day. So as I said, we have to display the event popup once we click the current or future dates. Therefore, we have to compare the clicked date to the current date. First of all, I'm going to create a new variable, and it's going to be today, and it should be equal to new date object. And now, in order to compare the click date to the current date, we have to use if statement, in which we need the following condition. I'm going to pass here clicked date, and it should be greater than or equal to today. So this condition checks if the clicked date is today or a future date. The comparison ensures that only today's date or future dates can be selected. Now, if this condition is true, then we have to update selected date using set selected date function, and I'm going to pass here clicked date, and also we have to show the event popup. Therefore, we have to update the state, show event popup. We need set show event popup. By default it is equal to false, and we have to make it true. Alright, so now we have to call this function once we click the span elements, the span inside days. So we need here on click event handler. It should be equal to a callback function, and then we need to call handle dayClick, and as the arguments we need to pass here day plus 1. We need plus 1 because days are 0 indexed. Okay, so now in order to show up the event popup once we click the numbers in the calendar, we have to do the following. I'm going to open here curly braces and insert show event popup. As you know, it is a boolean value, so once it is true, it means that the event popup should be displayed. Therefore, we need here AND operator, and I'm going to pass here the entire code of event popup. Let's cut it and paste it here. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm going to go to the calendar.css file and get rid of display none from here. Let's go to the browser. Now if we click, then the event popup will be displayed. Now we have to manage closing event popup once we click this X closing button. So let's go back to the VS Code. Now in order to hide the event popup on click of the closing X button, we have to add to the X button on click event handler. Now we need again a callback function where we have to set show event popup to false. Now if we display the event popup and then click close button, it will be closed. Now if we click the current date, then you will see that the event popup is not displayed. It's only displaying when we click the future dates. So the issue lies in the comparison. I mean this comparison here. So click date is created using the year, month and day of the click date. Today is a new date object representing the current date and time. When click date is the current day, but with a time of zeros, I mean zeros for hours, minutes and seconds, it is compared with today, which includes the current time, hours, minutes and seconds. This means that click date will be earlier than today if the current time is past midnight of the current day, causing the condition to fail. The solution is to include a function to check if two dates are the same day regardless of the time. We have to compare the year, month and date components of the two date objects. So as I said, we have to create new function, and I'm going to call it is same day. It's going to be an arrow function with two parameters, date 1 and date 2. So now we have to return date 1 dot get full year. We have to compare it to date 2 dot get full year. So the first method's call, the method on the left side, retrieves the year part of the date 1 object, for example 2024. Similarly, the method on the right side retrieves the year part of the date 2 object. So this statement here checks if the year parts of date 1 and date 2 are equal. Now we need to add here an operator, and then we need, I'm going to duplicate this code. So we need here get month. Now we have to compare months. So this method retrieves the month part of the date 1 object. Months are 0 indexed in JavaScript, so January is 0 and December is 11. As for the second method, similarly, it retrieves the month part of the date 2 object. And this statement checks if the month parts of date 1 and date 2 are equal. Now we need the same thing with get date, and again we need here get date. So this method call retrieves the day of the month part of the date 1 object, and similarly this method retrieves the day of the month part of the date 2 object. And now we check if the day of the month parts of date 1 and date 2 are equal. Now we have to modify the if statement. Here the condition inside the if statement. I'm going to add here or operator, and then we need to call is same day. As the arguments, I'm going to pass here clicked date, because we need to compare those two dates. Okay, so this combined condition covers both scenarios, the click date being today or in the future, thus ensuring that the event popup is displayed correctly for the current day. Now if we go to the browser, click the current day, now as you can see, the event popup is displayed. Okay, so everything works fine. We managed to display and hide the event popup based on the condition, whether it is a current or future date. And now we have to take care of submitting the events and display them on the right side of the application. So we have to create new states. I'm going to add here events. Then we need set events function. It should be equal to useState, and the default value is going to be an empty array. Next we need event time, and then set event time function. It should be equal to useState, and as the default value, I'm going to pass here an object. The first property is going to be hours, and it should be equal to zeros. As for the second property, it's going to be minutes, and it should be equal to zeros as well. Alright, finally we need to create state, which is going to be event text. Then we need set event text, and I'm going to make it equal to useState with the default value an empty string. Okay, now we have to modify the handle dayclick function. Inside the if statement, we have to update the following states. The first one is set event text, and we have to make it an empty string. As for the second state, it's going to be set event time. Actually, let's move this line up. I'm going to grab this default value here, and let's go ahead and paste it here. After that, I'm going to create new function, and it's going to be handle event submit. So this function will allow us to add events in the events list. So we need here an arrow function. Inside the function, I'm going to create new variable, which is going to be new event, and it's going to be an object, which will have three different properties. The first one is going to be date, and I'm going to make it equal to selected date. It's the variable from the state, I mean this one. Then the second property is going to be time. I'm going to open backtick. I'm going to insert here the following code. Let's write it first and then I will explain. So we need here event time dot hours dot pad start. It is a method which takes two parameters. The first one is 2, and then we need 0. So this method pads the current string with another string multiple times if needed, until the resulting string reaches the given length. So this function takes the hours part of the event time and pads it with leading zeros if necessary to ensure it has at least 2 characters. For example, if event time.hours is 5, it becomes 05, and if it is 12, then it remains 12. Okay, so now we need the same thing for minutes. Let's copy this code. Actually, we need colon outside of the code brace. Let's copy this code, add here colon, then paste the code, and instead of hours, we need minutes. Alright, after that, I'm going to add here third property. It's going to be text, and the text will be event text. It's from the state. I mean this one here. Okay, so that's it about the new event object. Now we have to update the events state, so I'm going to add here set events. So the value is going to be an array. We need here spread operator, and then events followed by the new event. Okay, so this line of code creates a new array that consists of all the elements from the events array and the new event object, which is added as the last element of the new array. Now we have to update event time, so we need here set event time, and I'm going to insert here again the objects from here. Let's insert the object here. Next we have to update the event text, so we need set event text, and it's going to be again empty. And lastly, we have to close the event popup, so we need set show event popup, and we have to make it false. Okay, so now in the JSX we have to find the hours input inside the event popup. We have here hours, and I'm going to add here attribute called value, which is going to be event time dot hours. So this attribute sets the value of the input field to event time dot hours, a state variable that holds the current value of the hours input. By binding the input's value to event time.hours, the input field will display the current state of the hours. This is part of making the input a controlled component, where the input field's value is controlled by the state. Now we have to add here onChange event handler. So this attribute specifies a function to run when the input value changes. In this case, it will call an arrow function that updates the state. So we need here an arrow function. And I'm going to pass here e, which is going to be an event object. This object contains information about the event, including the new value of the input field. And now here I'm going to call set event time function. And as the value, I'm going to insert here an object. We need here spread operator, event time, and then we need hours. It should be equal to e.target.value. Okay, so this function call updates the event time state. Set event time is the state updater function for event time provided by the useState hook. So here the new state object is being passed to set event time. The spread operator allows us to spread the current properties of the event time object into the new object. It copies all the existing properties. Then we have hours with the value e.target.value. This sets the hours property of the new state object to the current value of the input field. Then by setting the value of the input field to event time.hours and handling changes with onChange event handler, we make the input a controlled component. This means that the value displayed in the input field is always in sync with the state. So when the user types a new value into the input field, the onChange handler updates the state with the new value. The state change causes the component to re-render, and the input field's value is updated to reflect the new state, keeping the input field and state in sync. Okay, so now we have to do the same thing for the minutes as well. So actually I'm going to grab those two lines of code and paste them here. Now instead of hours we need here minutes. Then we need minutes instead of hours. Okay, that's it about the minutes inputs, and now we have to take care of the text area. I'm going to insert here value. It's going to be event text. So as you already noticed in the event pop-up, actually we got here an error, but we'll take care of that in a minute. So in the text area, we have a placeholder that tells us that the maximum number of characters that is allowed to enter is 60. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So we need to add here onChange event handler. We got an error because we didn't have here onChange event handler. So here I'm going to pass an arrow function with event object. And inside the arrow function, I'm going to use if statement, in which we have to check if e.target.value.length is less than or equal to 60. If this condition is true, then we have to update event text, and we have to pass here e.target.value. So the onChange event is triggered whenever the value of the text area element changes. The e parameter represents the event object, which contains information about the event that occurred. Then we have e.target that refers to the element that triggered the event, which in this case is the text area. As for the e.target.value, it is the current value of the text area, and in the if statement we compare the length of the value to 60. It checks if the length of the input text is 60 characters or less. This is a validation step to ensure that the input text doesn't exceed 60 characters. Then we update event text state with the current value of the text area if the text length is within the limit. Okay, now if I go to the browser and open event popup and try to enter here some characters, then you will see that once we reach 60 characters, then we won't be able to continue adding the characters inside the text area. Okay, so everything works fine so far. Now we have to manage rendering the events here on the right side of the application. So in order to do that, I'm going to iterate over events and render them in the application. So I'm going to add here curly braces, then we need events.map. You already know what map function does, so I'm not going to explain it 1,000 times. So I'm going to insert here an arrow function with two parameters. The first one is going to be event, and then we need index. So now we have to render the events in the application. I'm going to grab this content from here and paste it here. Then I'm going to add key attribute to the event, and the value is going to be index. So in this code, index is used as the key. Each element in the array is assigned a unique key based on its index. While using the index as a key is not always recommended, especially if the list can change, it is acceptable in cases where the list is static or its order does not change. Alright, now we have to update this hard-coded data here. Let's start with the event date. I'm going to get rid of this hard-coded data from here. Now I'm going to open curly braces, and inside the curly braces I'm going to open backticks. So we need here month of the event, then the day of the event, and finally the year of the event. So let's start with the month. I'm going to use $, then open curly braces, and let's insert here months of year. It is an array which includes all the months of the year. And as the index number, I'm going to insert here events. Actually, we need events dot dates dot get month function. Then after that, we need the day of the month. So I'm going to use again $. Then let's insert here events dot date dot get date. And finally, we need the year. So we need here events dot dates dot get full year. Alright, so that's it about the event date. Now we have to take care of the event time. I'm going to insert here event dot time. As for the text, let's insert here event dot text. Actually, something's wrong here. Instead of curly braces, we need here parentheses. So I'm going to open parentheses and then insert here the JSX. Now it should work. Okay, so let's reload the page, open event popup. Let's change the time. Then insert here some text. Let's click add event. So the event is not added here. Well, let's go back to the VS Code. Actually, we have to call the function here. We need onClick event handler with handle event submit function. Okay, let's try again. Let's reload the page, open event popup, change the time, then enter here some text, click add event, and here we go. Okay, so as you can see, the event is added here. We have the proper date, time, the text, so everything works perfectly. Let's add some more events with some dummy text. Okay, so everything works perfectly. Alright, so now we have to manage editing and deleting the events from the events list. For that, let's go back to the VS Code and create new states. So it's going to be editing event. Then we need set editing event, and it should be equal to useState with the default value null. Then in the handle day click, we have to update the state. So here we have to update the state, set editing events, and we have to make it null. Okay, so now we have to modify the handle event submit function. I mean this function here. As you remember, we have here object called new event, which has 3 parameters: date, time, text. Actually not parameters, but the properties. So I'm going to add here one more property, and it's going to be ID, which should be equal to editing events. We're going to check here if the editing event exists or not. So if it exists, then we need here a ternary operator, and I'm going to insert here editing event.id. And if editing event doesn't exist, then we need date.now. Now I'm going to explain what's going on here. So editing event is a state variable that holds the event object being edited. If there is no event being edited, then editing event is null. As you know, by default, it's null. So if editing event is not null, I mean if an event is being edited, the expression returns editing event.id. This ensures that the ID of the existing event is preserved during editing. If editing event is null, I mean if a new event is being created, the expression returns date.now. This function generates a unique timestamp based ID for the new event. Date.now returns the current timestamp in milliseconds, providing a unique identifier for each new event. So the purpose of adding this line to the new event object in the handle event submit function is to handle both creating new events and editing existing events. When editing an existing event, it's crucial to maintain the same ID so that the event can be correctly identified and updated in the events array. So using editing event.id ensures this consistency. For new events, a unique ID is generated using date.now function, ensuring no conflicts with existing events. So by having a unique identifier for each event, you can easily identify, update, or delete specific events from the list. This approach avoids duplicating events or losing track of which event is being edited. Alright, so now we have to create a copy of the current events array. So I'm going to use let keyword followed by the name of the variable. It's going to be updated events, and it should be equal to an array with spread operator and with events. So the spread operator is used to copy all the elements from the events array into a new array. This is done to avoid mutating the original events array directly. Now we have to determine if the user is currently editing an existing event or not. So we need to use if statement in which we have to check if editing event is true or false. So as you know, editing event holds the event being edited. If editing event is not null, it means an event is being edited. And the next thing that we have to do is to update the existing event in the updated events array. So we need here updated events, and it should be equal to updated events followed by the map function. We need here a callback function with the parameter event. And now we need event.id equal to editing event.id. If it is true, then we need new event. And if it is false, then we need event. Okay, so map function creates a new array by iterating over each event in updated events. For each event, if event.id matches editing event.id, we need to replace the event with new events. Otherwise, we have to keep the original event. So this ensures that the existing event with the same ID as editing event is updated with the new details. Next, we have to add a new event to the updated events array if not editing an existing event. If editing event is null, it means a new event is being created. So we need here an else statement in which I'm going to insert updated events. Then we need to use push method, and we have to push new events into the events array. We have here some syntax error. Let's grab else statement. We have to place else statement here. So again, we are adding new event to the end of the updated events array. Alright, so we have to take care of one more thing here regarding the events, and it is sorting the updated events array based on the date of each event. So here I'm going to add updated events dot sort. I'm going to insert here a function, and then I will explain what's going on here. So we need two parameters, a and b. Then it's going to be an arrow function, and we have to return new date with the argument a dot date minus new date with the argument b dot date. So sort is an array method that sorts the elements of an array in place and returns the sorted array. This method accepts a comparison function as an argument which determines the order of the elements. In this case, the comparison function is this function here, this arrow function. So the expression inside the arrow function subtracts the date object of bDate from the date object of aDate. In JavaScript, subtracting two date objects gives the difference in milliseconds between the two dates. If the result is negative, then a.date is earlier than b.date, so a should come before b. If the result is 0, then a.date and b.date are the same, so their order doesn't change. And if the result is positive, a.date is later than b.date, so a should come after b. This comparison function takes two arguments, a and b, which represent two elements, in this case events, in the updated events array. A.date and b.date are the date properties of the two events being compared. And then we have new date with the argument a.date and new date with the argument b.date. They convert the date strings into date objects. And this is necessary because the date property is stored as a string and needs to be compared as date objects. Alright, so now we have to update the state. We need to update set events, and instead of this value here, we need to insert updated events. And also I'm going to add here set editing events, and we have to make it null. Okay, so after that we have to create the editing function itself. So let's create new function and call it handle edit events. It's going to be an arrow function with the parameter event. So this parameter represents the event object that is being edited. So inside the function we have to update a couple of things. The first one is selected date, and it's going to be new date with the value event dot date, actually with the argument. So actually we need here set selected date and not selected date. So as you know, set selected date is a state setter function that updates the selected state. Event.date, which is an argument of this function here, is the date of the event, which is stored as a string. And this code here inside the parentheses converts the string date back into a date object, which is then set as the new selected date. Next we have to update event time, so we need to set event time, and I'm going to insert here an object in which we'll have two properties. The first one will be hours. As you know, the time consists of hours and minutes, so it should be equal to event.time Then we need split function. Let's write the code and I'll explain. So we need here colon. Actually, we need quotes and then colon. And we have to grab the first item. Therefore, we need here index number 0. In case of minutes, we need events dot time. Then again, split function. We need to split on colon. And we have to grab the second item. It's going to be 1. I mean the index number. So, as you know, this function updates the event time state. So, event.time is a string in the format of hours, colon, minutes. Then event.time.split splits the string into an array with 2 elements, the hours and the minutes. The index number 0 retrieves the hours part of the time string, and in case of minutes, the index number 1 retrieves the minutes part of the time string. These values are then set in the event time state object. Next, we have to update event text, so we need set event text function, and we have to pass here event.text. So this function updates the event text state. Event.text is the text description of the event, and this value is set as the new event text. After that, we have to update editing events. So we need set editing events, and it's going to be events. So this updates the editing event state. This state keeps track of the event currently being edited. This entire event object is passed and set in the editing event state. Next, we have to update show event popup. So we need set show event popup, and we have to make it true because we need to open the event popup once we need to edit the event. So in summary, handle edit event function prepares the state for editing an existing event by converting the event's date from a string to a date object and setting it, then splitting the event's time string into hours and minutes and setting them, also setting event text, then storing the event being edited, and displaying the event popup to allow the user to make changes. Alright, so in order to run this function, we need on-click event handler with the edit button. Let's go ahead and find it. We need events, and then we need edit button. So I'm going to pass here on-click event handler, and I'm going to insert here a callback function. Then we need handle event, actually not event, but edit event. It should take an argument, and it's going to be event. Okay, let's go to the browser and test. I'm going to open event popup. Let's add some dummy text. Click add event. So the event is added. Now if I click edit button, then we will get here an error. Cannot read properties of undefined. JSX 95. Let's check line 95. So we have here set event time, hours, minutes, event time split 0, 1. So here everything looks correct. Let's go back to this code here. On click handle edit event, and actually we need here event, not events. Let's check again, reload the page. Let's add new event. Click add event, then click edit event, and here we go. Now if I add some text, then change time, hours, minutes, click add event, it will update the existing event. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now I'm going to add here one more thing. When we click edit button, we have to change the text of the button. Instead of add event, we need update event. So let's go ahead and fix that issue. I'm going to find add event button. So here we have it. So instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to open curly braces. Now we need editing events. If it is true, then instead of add event text, we need update event. And Then as the second option, if we are not editing event, then we need here just add event. Okay, let's go ahead and check the results. I'm going to click edit event. So as you can see, we have here update event instead of adding event. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now we have to manage deleting events by clicking this icon here. So I'm going to create new function after handle edit event function. Let's create new function. It's going to be handle delete event. It should be an arrow function with the parameter event ID. So this function takes one parameter, event ID, which is the ID of the event that needs to be deleted. Now inside that function, I'm going to create new variable, and it's going to be updated events. It's going to be equal to events.filter. Then we need here a callback function with the parameter events. Now we have to compare events.id. We need here not equals to events ID. So let me explain what's going on here. So events is the current state array containing all event objects. This line of code creates a new array called updated events. The filter method iterates over each event in the events array. For each event, it checks if event.id is not equal to event ID. If the condition is true, I mean if the event's ID is not the one to be deleted, the event is included in the new updated events array. If the condition is false, I mean if the event's ID is the one to be deleted, the event is excluded from the new updated events array. As a result, updated events contains all events except the one with the matching event ID. Now we have to update set events. We need here set events, and we have to pass here updated events. So set events updates the event state, and it sets the events state to the new updated events array, effectively removing the event with the specified event ID. Alright, so in summary, the handle delete event function handles the deletion of an event by filtering the current events array to create a new array that excludes the event with the specified event ID, updating the event state with the new filtered array. Alright, so now in order to make this function work, we need onClick event handler with delete button. We need onClick event handler. Then I'm going to pass here an arrow function, a callback function with handle delete event, and as the argument I'm going to insert here events.id. Let's go to the browser. Let's click. So here we go. The event was deleted. Now I'm going to add new event. Let's edit it. Then click delete and it's gone. Okay, so everything works perfectly. And now we have to create a function for handling changes to the time inputs, I mean hours and minutes, in our event form. This function will ensure that the state is updated correctly as the user inputs time values, and it also ensures that the time values are always in the correct format. For example, 0, 1 instead of 1, and so on. Okay, so let's go back to the VS Code and create new function. I'm going to call it handle time change. It should be equal to an arrow function. And I'm going to pass here an event object. So this parameter is the event object generated by the change event on the input field. Now inside the function, I'm going to create new variable, and I'm going to use destructuring. We need to destructure two variables, name, actually two properties, name and value, from e.target In this case, target refers to the input element that triggered the change event. Name is the name attribute of the input element, hours or minutes. Value is the current value of the input elements, the user entered time. Next, we need to update event time. So we need to set event time. And I'm going to insert here an arrow function with the parameter. It's going to be pref time. Now we need here an object with spread operator, pref time. Then I'm going to add here name equal to value dot path start. I hope you remember this method. It's going to be 2 and 0. Okay, so let me explain what's happening here. Set event time updates the event time state. Pref time is the previous state value of event time. The spread operator copies all existing properties of pref time into the new state object. Then we have name with value.pathStart function. This sets the property of the new state object based on the name of the input field and its value, ensuring that the value is always at last 2 characters long by padding with leading zeros if necessary. For example, if the user enters 1 for hours, then it will convert it to 01. So in summary, the handle time change function serves the following purposes. It dynamically updates the event time state based on the input field that triggered the event. This means it works for both the hours and minutes inputs without requiring separate handlers for each. Then it ensures that the time values are always in the correct 2-digit format, for example 01 instead of 1. This is important for consistency and to avoid issues when displaying or processing the time values. So by using the spread operator to copy the previous state, it ensures that only the relevant property, hours or minutes, is updated, while the other property remains unchanged. So now, in order to run this function, we need to find time inputs. So instead of those callback functions, we need to insert handle time change. So we need to delete these callback functions for both inputs, and we have to pass here handle time change function. Alright, so I think that's it about the functionality of our application. Let's go ahead and test it. So let's go ahead and add some dummy events, change the time, hours, then change minutes, click add event. The event is added. I'm going to add another event. So both events are added. Let's click past dates. So we are not able to open event pop-up. Let's add event in the next month of the year. Let's add here some text, change the time, add event. Okay, so everything works fine. I'm going to edit event. Let's delete this text, add another text, change time, update event. So the event is updated. I'm going to delete events. Okay, so everything works fine. The calendar works perfectly. And actually, with the functionality of our application, we are done. Now I'm going to add many events. Let's do it quickly. Once the list is full, then as you see, the events are placed outside of the application. In order to fix that, I'm going to go to the calendar app.css file and find events. Now I'm going to add here overflow y and make it auto. So now we have scroll bar, which looks pretty ugly. Actually, I'm not going to customize this scroll bar. I'm going to hide it at all. So in order to do that, I'm going to select events, followed by the pseudo element WebKit scroll bar, and let's add here display none. So now the scroll bar is hidden, and actually we are able to scroll up and down the list of events. Alright, so that's it. Our application works perfectly, and the last thing that I'm going to do is to make the project responsive for different screen sizes and devices. I'm going to switch to the responsive mode. Actually, let's separate those windows. So I have prepared here different screen sizes and devices. We have 6 desktop screens, then we have 2 tablets and 3 mobile screen sizes. So I'm going to check our projects for desktop screens. So as you can see, it looks good. Let's check desktop 5, then 6. So for desktop screens, our project is responsive. Next, I'm going to check tablet. So for tablets, I'm going to make the changes for the application. Now we have a landscape mode and we need portrait mode for tablets. So I'm going to make the project responsive using CSS media queries. Let's go to the VS Code and create new CSS media query. I'm going to specify max width. Let's set it to, let's say, 850 pixels. So first of all, I'm going to select calendar app, and I'm going to change flex direction for the flex items. I'm going to place flex items vertically in a column, so we need here column. Actually, we need column. Then I'm going to set row gap to 2 rem, and also I'm going to change the aspect ratio of the application. We need 3:2. Okay, so the shape of the calendar app is changed, and now we have much better results. Now we have to customize the content of the application. We have to center both parts. So let's go ahead and select calendar. I'm going to set width to 70%, and then in order to center the content, I'm going to set margin to auto. So the calendar is placed in the center. Next, I'm going to select navigate date, and I'm going to set margin to 1 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. So the space became smaller, and now we have much better result. Next, we have to take care of the weekdays. Let's decrease the space. So select weekdays, set margin to 1 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. Okay, after that, I'm going to take care of the events. So let's select events, set width to 80%, and then we need to center them horizontally. For that, we need margin auto. So as you can see, the events are placed in the center of the application. Okay, now we have to take care of the event pop-up, which right now looks pretty ugly. We have to change its position and we have to change its size. So let's go ahead and select event pop-up. I'm going to change the position. The top position is going to be 18%. Then I'm going to set left position to 50%. I'm going to center the element horizontally. For that, we need transform, translate X function, and it's going to be minus 50%. Then I'm going to change the width. Let's set it to 60%. Also change the aspect ratio. Let's set it to 4:3. And finally, I'm going to set row gap to 1 rem. Let's check the results. So as you can see, the event pop-up looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to select event pop-up time. I'm going to select event pop-up time. And I'm going to change the width. So we need here clamp function. The values will be 5 RAM, then 10 CQI, then the maximum value is going to be 8 RAM. As for the font size, I'm going to use again clamp function with the values 1.5 RAM, then 3 CQI, and 2.2 RAM as the maximum value. Let's check the time input. So actually this element here, it looks good. Next we have to take care of the inputs. So I'm going to duplicate this code. I'm going to change here the selector. We need time input and then input element. So I'm going to change the width. Actually, we need here the same values. As for the font size, I'm going to change values. We need 1.2 RAM, then 2 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.6 RAM. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, the input fields look pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the text area. So actually, let's select event pop-up followed by text area. We need text area. Let's set width to clamp function, and the values will be 18 RAM. Then the preferred value will be 35 CQI. As for the maximum value, I'm going to set it to 28 RAM. Let's check the text area. It looks good. Next, we have to take care of the placeholder. So I'm going to duplicate this code. Let's add here placeholder. Then I'm going to change font size. We need clamp function. The values will be 1 RAM, then 1.5 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 1.2 RAM. So that's it about the text area. Next, I'm going to take care of the button. So let's go ahead and select event pop-up btn. I'm going to grab those two properties. Let's change the values. So we need here 18 RAM. Actually, we need the same values that we have here. So I'm going to grab this line of code and replace this line of code here. As for the font size for the button, it's going to be 1.5 RAM. Then we need here 3 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 2.2 RAM. Let's check the results. So as you can see, the button looks pretty nice. That's it about the event pop-up. Next, we have to take care of the events. Let's start with the event date. I'm going to select event date. Let's change the font size. Let's use clamp function. And the first value is going to be 1 RAM, then 1.4 CQI. And the maximum value is going to be 1.2 RAM. Alright, let's change the event time and event text. I'm going to duplicate this code twice. So we need here event time. The values for the font size, for the clamp function, is going to be 1 RAM, then 2 CQI, then 1.6 RAM. As for the event text, I'm going to set clamp function to 1 RAM, 2.5 CQI, and then 1.4 RAM as the maximum value. Okay, so I think that's it for the tablet. Everything looks good. I'm going to check the second tablet mode. So we have here a scroll bar, and actually I'm going to add overflow hidden for the container. So actually we need index.css file. Let's add here overflow hidden. And now the problem should be fixed. Okay. So I think that's it about the tablet mode. Now we have to check the mobile one. So we have to make some changes for the mobile. So let's go back to the VS Code and open index.css file. I'm going to create here new CSS media query. The max width is going to be 500 pixels. And on that breakpoint, I'm going to change the font size of the HTML element. Right now it is set to 62.5%, and I'm going to set the font size of the HTML element to 55%. It will allow us to make all the elements smaller. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, all the elements became smaller. Now I'm going to create new CSS media query in calendar.css file. We need here new CSS media with max width of, actually we need here dash 500 pixels. Let's select calendar app and change its aspect ratio. So it's going to be 10:9. As you can see, the size of the application is changed. Next, I'm going to select calendar. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then I'm going to select event Popup and change its position. Let's set the position to 23%, and also I'm going to increase the width. Let's set width to 80%. Okay, so that's it about the event Popup. Next, I'm going to take care of the events. Let's select events and set its width to 100%. Okay, so I think events look pretty nice. And actually, with that breakpoint, we are done. Let's check other mobile screens. Mobile 2 is good. Then we have the smallest mobile screen. And I think that we can make here slight change. So let's create new CSS media query. I'm in the last one. Specify max width as 375 pixels. I'm going to select calendar app and change aspect ratio. It's going to be 3:2. Okay, so that's it. Our project is responsive for different screen sizes. I'm going to get rid of responsive mode. Hopefully you enjoyed this project and learned some new stuff in React. If you enjoyed this project and if you liked it, then please thumbs up, comment below, subscribe to our channel, because it is very important for us to continue creating such content, and also click the bell to get notified on upcoming tutorials. Alright, see you next time.